Hi folks, I hope you're okay. My name's Tom Brown and I'm in my house, so I have my faithful dog Jingle around, and for those of you, if anybody's seen any or had the misfortune sitting in my lectures, will know that when I'm recording my dog tends to kind of pottery, or she might bark if she hears a leaf blowing within about 2 mile radius of the house. It's sunny where I am today, sunny but cold, and I hope it's sunny where you are, or at least warm enough. Thank you for taking time to explore this kind of presentation. Don't know whether it's a presentation or just maybe a little bit of a ramble. Just to briefly kind of introduce, my name's Tom Brown and I am a lecturer at Sheffield Hallam University, and I'm one of the team that delivers a PQIP qualification. Prior to that, I was a practice tutor assessor in the North East for 5 years, and 10 years prior to that I was a probation officer who trained in Rotherham and then went to work in Sheffield, and I explored prolific and priority offenders, drug rehabilitation and guns and gangs, and my heart is still very much with probation despite being technically an academic for the last 4.5 years. Blimey. The other two partners not in crime are Charlotte Oliver. Now Charlotte's part of the research team. She's doing her PhD at the moment, and she's doing her PhD into people who have committed sexual offences, and she's been on board with us now for quite a while. The other person is Andrew Fowler, and Andrew I know from probation as well as being my colleague now in academia, because Andrew was also a PTA in the North East and was also a probation officer for a while before that, before coming across full-time into academia. And yeah, this is kind of where it's come from. So our kind of research, although that's a really loose term, is called probation in objects. Now, if I ask you, have you ever been in that situation where somebody who's not in the probation service, you might call them a muggle, has asked you, what do you do? What does a probation officer do? Your first response might be, what don't we do? Your second response may be, oh, if I tell you it's going to lead to some difficult conversations, or you might just walk off. Well, probation in objects is really a project around establishing how we feel about probation service. There's various bits of research that I'll go on to kind of just pop in and drop in on before, which talks about our identities. But we're thinking about actually what does probation mean to the people who are involved in it. So hopefully my keyboard will work, or it won't, which is okay. Here we go. So in terms of the current state of probation, blimey, and I know this in some ways it probably feels like a really rubbish time to be kind of asking this, but actually probation, Napo, AGM, maybe it's a really good time to be kind of coming with you for an ask. But in terms of everybody getting together, hopefully there's some kind of gladiatorial celebrations going on at some stage during this AGM. Talk about the rationale. So where does the study come from? Giving you the background. And I'm going to try not to keep it too academic, because actually it's supposed to be a fusion. So hopefully we give enough, but if you want more academic kind of research, then we've actually done an article before we start to launch this, which people can kind of chase up if they want to. And then talking about objects, what does objects mean and why are we asking? So Gwen Robinson, Sheffield University, not Hallam University, kind of talks about this Cinderella complex with probation, which is essentially the fact that we kind of get ignored in terms of, you know, there's lots of criminal justice kind of agencies, and we are really badly represented, despite the fact that actually we're a massive organisation and we have a responsibility which encompasses pretty much every aspect of social and kind of criminal aspect of life, really. So Robinson talks about the fact that, you know, we're kind of hidden. And I think it's been interesting actually when I've kind of come out of probation, the fact that there is that sense of kind of disconnect as well. And I think we get that as well, because I think whenever probation's kind of put its head up, there maybe feels like there's some snipers out there who are aiming to take shots at us. I don't think the representation that we have really kind of celebrates the work that we do. And so the idea around this kind of overcoming this complex is about the fact that actually we want to collect images, artifacts that represent the work that Probation Service does in a way which can be shared, because we want this to not just celebrate the work that we do, slip of the tongue, but not just celebrate the work that the Probation Service does, but actually we want to use it to inspire future generations coming through, because we want this to be a longer term thing. We believe in the Probation Service fundamentally, and actually it's really important that we have something that we can show people who are interested, and people who are doing their A-levels, about what the service means to people who work within it. Because it's okay having advertising campaigns, of course that's really important, but actually this is our time to hopefully give you a voice that can be celebrated and successful. What's it been through? Blimey, you probably sigh. So I don't know how much need I kind of go through, because you'll all have lived it. If you're new to the service, you'll be living extraordinary change. But we had TR, and I was out. I was a probation officer at the time, and I was out marching. And in my head, I thought, this isn't going to go through. Surely one person can't come up with an idea and destroy something that has been lasting so long and does such valuable work. But he managed to. And we're still living the legacy, and I so hope that we come through the legacy. And then fortunately, evidence gathered, unsurprisingly, and then we've come back together. And in terms of the services, I work with probation students now who are actively training, so I recognise that this is not this is still not a pretty picture. This is really on the coalface work that is being done at the moment to keep the probation service running. However, one thing that always stuck with me when I worked as a probation officer was the immense dedication and strength and brilliance of the incredibly resilient people who worked in it, and that goes for all grades. I'm not just talking about you probation officers, I'm talking about PSOs, I'm talking about the people who help keep the buildings afloat, I'm talking about the people in approved premises, the people who work to deliver the unpaid work, the full lot. Just, I believe, is strong enough to survive and thrive in the end. Now, Andrew came across this work by Mark Dowell, and he's a social worker in Sheffield, and met him. The reason why I'm smiling is he's just one of those people that make you smile, in terms of incredibly bright, incredibly brilliant, but incredibly human. If he wasn't retired as a social worker, I'd want him as my probation officer. But he did a book about social work in 40 objects, and actually it's a really emotive book. If you get the chance, and then have a look at it, because it's said in the same kind of vein as we're wanting from probation in objects, into connecting with the work and about how that feels. And that's very powerful when we think about the reach that we have in terms of the lives of people, the lives of people that we work with, but the families of people that we work with, obviously in terms of protecting the public and victims' family. It's astounding, but it's so little known about. And this kind of ties into the academic stuff around the fact that there's very little in terms of what's classed as visual methodologies. So that way to represent something in not just words. There's small kind of pockets of bits around, but not really much, and that kind of ties into this thing about why is probation so invisible. Now these are some of the objects. If you go to our website, what you'll see is that you can go to the gallery, but on the front page is some of the objects that have been submitted, and if you hover over them, you can click on them, and it gives a person's explanation about why they've submitted it. And it could give you an idea about this sense, is that this is like an academic research project, but it's meant to be real life. And so what we want is people to submit things about how they feel in their own language. So we don't want you to be put off thinking, oh, I couldn't write anything academic. You don't have to really write much at all if you don't want to. But it's part of the invite to explain. But you can see that there's there's different things. The one that I'm looking at, I don't know why I'm pointing, by the way, because of course you're not looking, you can't see what I'm pointing to, but there's a Japanese entry, you could probably tell by the writing on there, and that was sent in because in Japan the probation service is very different to how it is in the UK. We've got a Romanian entry as well, but some of these some of these images may resonate with you and some may not. Trying to find themes has been interesting because, what does a probation officer do? I'll go back to that original thing. You do everything. When we think about, there's been kind of typologies of probation. So when we're thinking about Morby and Worrell, who's done work about, identifying about kind of identities, probation officer identities, and then thinking about, McNeil in terms of, the kind of different roles that probation has. And some of these things kind of clump together, but in another way, what we started to realise is that actually probation, the role of probation is so disparate that maybe it's quite right that we get a whole different range of images that help come together to explain it. So trying to, explain it to someone from the outside is a really difficult ask. If we've got a collection of things and actually we can show people and say, these are all what probation's about, and actually we're going to celebrate the fact that it's got multiple roles, multiple identities, multiple ways of working or thinking about the work that we do. When I talk about celebration, that doesn't mean that in these times it has to be something which is just inherently happy. It's supposed to be something that connects. So it might be deep, it might be meaningful, it might not necessarily be something which is kind of celebrating the way things are done at the moment. So just bear that in mind. These are some of the probation materials, because when we're trying to stick them out, you've probably seen some of these that come forward. So some of the kind of celebratory materials from probation. The lanyards is one that people consistently talk about. And then we've kind of got abstract and analogous. And so these are the things that there's a story behind the image. And so we invite you to kind of have a look at the images and just like in a gallery, to form your own ideas. And then maybe have a look at the words as well and think, actually, that's what they're talking about. The deeper roots for me on the right hand side is one of kind of our very first entries, and for me that kind of it signified quite a lot when I saw it, actually, in terms of this small kind of living thing really trying to kind of find a way to take hold. And when I think about some of the people that I've worked with in the time that trying to take hold in society, thinking about McNeil and others talking about those that social capital that's really important. But have an explore. It's we've got a range of people who have submitted, but we really want you to as well. We want to build a decent collection. These are some of the international ones. So the Romania, I've mentioned about the one in Japan, but the Romania one, this is a statement which is a statement of belief, and I can't remember the exact words, but it's in all the Romanian offices, and essentially it carries this reminder about the essence of how they want to capture the work that they do in Romania in terms of a sense of belief. So if there's any people who speak Romanian, you're welcome to kind of translate that. My international knowledge is not that good. And equally, if you've got contacts in other countries, please feel free to get in touch with them, because as many people are welcome to submit. I don't know, is that enough? Have I explained enough? I'm going to be at the conference, which starts tomorrow. Blimey, I'm going to be there on Friday, so I'll be doing a small kind of thing there, and also I believe I'm doing in lunch, we've got the hall, so I can do a presentation there. But come up and just have a chat. I'm going to try and maybe get some things together which can stimulate thought. But essentially the way to submit an object is go to our website. So we've got the new funky groovy QR code that you can do, or you can email us if there's any questions. But the website address is www.probationinobjects.co.uk, and if you have any issues, then do get in touch. But it's your invite to take part in this and to have a voice. You can do that anonymously, or you can do that with your name and attach your story, whichever works. But we think it's really important. and we want you to feel free to please join in. So I hope that that's okay. I hope I didn't ramble too much. There's our references for you academics out there who will be shaking their heads at my appalling presentation. But take care for now.